Hi, howdy, hello. I'm ZGALA. Welcome to my show. I want to talk about a different show that I just saw and give you my reaction to it, and that is the last episode of the Subtle Art podcast by one of my favorite authors, Mark Manson. Hey, Mark. I know you probably won't see this. And the podcast is one that I have caught some episodes of, but I will readily admit I'm not a diehard follower of. It's hard to be a diehard follower of anything these days for me. But that episode, for whatever reason, popped up on my feed and caught my attention. And it was a short episode with him explaining that it was going to be the last episode of that podcast as he moves into a different new podcast that he's very passionate about. I believe it's called Solved. Sounds intriguing. And lots of things about his 25-minute or so little spiel caught my attention and sparked some gelling of some thoughts that I've been having for a while. So I thought I'd take a run at trying to articulate some of those here and now, off the cuff. And that's one of the things that's been long on my mind ever since I started talking to this square box format we call YouTube. And my impulse from the very beginning has been to show my raw, unedited, often messy, cluttery self as I am. Largely because I've, since way back, 10, 12 years ago, and even longer for sure, but certainly since then, been very acutely aware of this pervasive fakeness, this homogenization, this push toward conformity and domestication and shaving off of the rough edges of what makes us diverse and wonderfully unique, and instead trying to put everybody into a labeled box of some sort. And even I will give a pinky finger asterisk and say that the trans movement for me has been very interestingly homogenizing as a woman who has always been non-conforming to many roles and happy about that and feeling healthy in that in most times of my life. Not all, because I think we, like everybody, I have my ups and downs, but when I was a girl, I was called a tomboy. And even though that took me some getting used to or some grappling with identity-wise, I came to see the positives and negatives of that label, as I think there are positives and negatives of any label if you look at it from the right angles, some more positive and more negative than others, certainly. And I guess that's what I'm getting at, is I don't really know, but I don't hear anyone using that phrase anymore. And I feel like the transgender movement in some ways, now I'm not talking about individual humans who feel like they want to transition into a different gender. I believe we all should be able to do whatever we like with these bodies. I do sometimes think it's problematic, the message that it sends to younger people who are grappling with their identity and with sexuality, but a topic for another conversation or two on another day, really not what I was wanting to dive into today. But what I'm wanting to dive into today is related to that, in that it's about being our authentic, raw, unedited selves, or editing if we wish. I think editing your gender is a pretty big edit, but nonetheless, is if that's what you want to do. That's part of this beautiful life that we're all living, is all these different expressions. And I love diversity. I love all the different ways that we express. I love that we are at a time in human history where we can make such dramatic changes and have such choices as even our gender or our health or the longevity of our future generations, perhaps. I do think that there's probably always, or at least almost always, unintended or unforeseen or unforeseeable third and fourth and fifth order consequences to any decision we make. And so I think that's how it tends to play out, that things aren't really all bad or good. They're just all these layers of consequences. Even if something starts out seeming very good or very bad, it can have consequences down the road that change that sum total, from my perspective. All of that is a far out tangent, really not related to what I was getting at as far as my reaction to Mark Manson's announcement that he is stopping the Subtle Art podcast and shifting into something that he's more passionate about. The initial thing that I wanted to say about that, and my initial reaction, had to do with what I started off saying a little bit ago, which is that 10 plus years ago, I started making these unedited, unscripted, raw videos, just like this one is, where, I may have tried to adjust my frame a little, and I may have thought a little bit about what I want to say, sometimes more than others, but I am not reading from a script or a teleprompter. I don't even, in this case, have bullet points. Sometimes I do. I'm really just speaking off the cuff, genuinely, from my, maybe it's my heart, my mind, the combination, my mouth, my butt, I don't know. It's combinations of all of the above. And the point of it, to me, is to demonstrate just my own humanness. And as we are entering this age of robots and AI and the growing potential of human and non-human synergistic new relationships, there's all kinds of stuff coming out so fast we can't even really fathom it. And at the same time, I feel this impulse to say to you and to myself that being human is a pretty neat thing. And I don't think we need to shun it or edit it or modify it in any great hurry. And that's not to say we should cling to the past or not allow evolution to unfold. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying, though, is that I think my humanness is beautiful. My imperfections are beautiful, as I think your humanness and your imperfections are beautiful. There's something about our imperfections, our rawness, those little flaws that you're seeing in me right now. There's something about that is what gives this life meaning to me. I think I'm not alone in that. When I was listening to Mark Manson talk about why he's shifting his podcast to a different format, now what he's shifting to didn't necessarily make great sense to me in the context of it, because he's from what I would call trying to pin down the butterfly. But that's, again, another topic for another conversation and just my perspective, But what I agree with wholeheartedly that he was saying was about how podcasting tends to fall to this, what I'm going to call this domesticated or homogenized sort of aspect, where the people that we want on podcasts the most, that are the most popular guests, tend to say the same exact thing. We all already know what they are going to say. In fact, they've often written a book about it. Hey, by the way, I just finished my book, The Shift. It's out to my beta readers right now. I've been working on it for 4 years. Whoop, whoop. It's just like every other self-help book, only a little different because I wrote it, and I did try to weave in some nonfiction with the, or no, rather some fiction with the nonfiction, just to give it my own slant. That was a total little unexpected plug. That's going to be my new thing, maybe. Unexpected plug. I don't know what's going to be my new thing. That's the point, really, is that I like to live in the present as much as possible. I'm really trying to encourage you to do the same. And yes, there are habits and routines and rituals and stories that can help and that are good. And at the same time, if we get too hung up on those, if we think, especially as things are grinding forward so fast, I think we need to balance hanging on to what works and the tradition of things and not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak, as we have all this new stuff. It's important to examine what works routinely. For me, that's breathing. That's a real basic. Goes back a ways. Smiling, letting go of negative shit stories, as I like to call them. The shit storyteller, pressing pause on that shit storyteller and being like, hey, is that really true? Is that the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Is it helping me to tell this story, even if it is true right now? Is there anything I can do about it right now? And if not, then bringing myself back to what can I do right now? And often that is regulating my own body. That's what my book, The Shift, is really about, is that basic. How can we learn to realize when we're dysregulated, bring ourselves back to a regulated state, and develop and cultivate habits in our lives that make us more resilient, more capable of handling our imperfections, of handling our emotional selves. I am on the side that favors keeping our emotions and learning to express them in beautiful ways, work with them, share them with each other. I think there's kind of a split going on in humanity, and I don't like to draw divisive lines so much, but I will pencil this one in and say, it seems to me there's a school of thought that's saying we should do away with emotions, and that is part of what we're calling AI or robotics is offering us right now, the emotionless or the less emotional life. But my question is, and I think I'm not the only one questioning, will that take away what we currently think of as meaning, what makes it meaningful? And I'm not afraid. I think if it does, we'll replace it with new things. That's the beautiful thing about life. I am confident that life will go on, probably, or if it doesn't, then probably won't matter. But I think it will. I think the odds are in its favor. And life has managed to bounce through and evolve from a great many things beyond what we're currently going through. So, yep, that's my whole ramble. I don't think I actually got to. Let's see, is it my whole ramble? Maybe not. I wanted to say I agree with the notion that Mark Manson was getting at and responding to, which is that rote retelling of the same crap that we all already heard, we could do better. We don't need to do that. We can do both. We can hang on to what works, and we can bring some freshness to the table. We can be willing to be imperfect as we do that, because I think that's the only way it's going to happen. I'm willing anyway. So here I am doing it up imperfectly. I invite you to try it out. Do the same. I invite you to like and subscribe. You never know what you're going to get around here. I am diving into a new era, a new wave of things. As I mentioned, I just did give the shift to my beta readers. It should actually be available on Amazon by next month. I'm super excited about that. I've been working on it for 4 years, 4 or 5 or 6 iterations. And this one's going to be the one that gets published. Is it the best one? I don't know. Is it the only one? No, but it is the one. So there's that. And same with you and I, right? Are we the best? Probably not. But are we the only ones am I the only me and you the only you? Well, probably, depending on how you feel about this whole simulation theory. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's get messy. Let me know what you think. Let me know where you are. Let me know what thoughts that sparked in you. Like and subscribe. Check out my book. Give yourself a nice big exhale, maybe a little squeeze. I'll be talking to you soon. Ciao for now. Peace.